Hey, how's it going? Zach D Productions here, and I'm here for a movie review for you guys. So for this review, this is for a classic for sure, and this is my review for Gojira, which is the original Godzilla film from 1954. And this is definitely one of the oldest movies that I have in my collection. It's also one of the only black and white films that I have in the collection as well. I know I have this, and I believe I have the original King Kong as well for DVD. So there's that. Just to name a few black and white films that I have in my collection. And I wanted to talk about this movie because not only was this the start of Godzilla and the start of this whole franchise, but this was also a very groundbreaking movie for film just in general. I mean, you really could say that Godzilla was one of the first ever franchises. 1954. This was before a lot of franchises. I mean, with that in mind, it really does make you appreciate this film because of what this film meant to movies in general and, of course, to Godzilla. This is not my favorite Godzilla movie by any means, and I feel weird for saying that because this was the start of it all, but it's all preference more than anything, of course. And I still do like the movie a lot. I do think it's a great film, and honestly, for a movie that came out in the 50s, I think it holds up pretty well. I think it holds up all these years later, believe it or not. This is a cool DVD copy, by the way. I do want to pick up this film at some point for Blu-ray, because I really would like to pick this up for Blu-ray at some point, but yeah. This is like a book, this case here. So you get this booklet here, and this actually comes with 2 discs. You get Gojira, Godzilla, the original Japanese masterpiece, and you also get Godzilla, King of the Monsters, which is pretty neat. Definitely a cool case. I really do like this case. I don't think I own anything like this other than this, of course, which is pretty neat. And this movie, it is in black and white, and I think that what the filmmakers had to work with at the time, I think they did really well. I mean, again, I think it holds up pretty well, and this was, of course, long before CG was a thing. And isn't it funny how I think that this movie is better than some of the more recent Godzilla films, particularly the MonsterVerse films. Now, I do like the MonsterVerse films, don't get me wrong. I think that they've been very solid, but do I think that they're better than this? No, I don't think so. I still think that Gojira is better than the MonsterVerse films, if I'm being perfectly honest. And that really does go to show that you don't need to overload your film with CGI. You can still make your film work without CG, of course. And, you know, there's a lot of effort put into these type of films. I mean, you could really tell that the filmmakers really put some effort into this. Like, yeah, you don't have the CG and stuff, but you have a lot of practical stuff in here. Like, you have, like, little miniature replicas of, like, vehicles and stuff, like, and this is the case for other Godzilla films, by the way, not just this one. And you have like replicas of buildings and stuff, which is cool. And I actually was kind of invested in the human characters in this. I think that they really did put some emotion into the human characters as well. So I don't know, I just would love to go back in time to 1954 to like see like the premiere of this, and because this was probably a huge game changer. In fact, it was. I mean, who knew that at the time this would be like such a big hit? And now here we are, like all these years later, we're still talking about Godzilla, and they're still making Godzilla films, which is insane. It's really insane. Not sure how many people knew at the time that this would be a hit, but it turned out to be a hit because, again, look how many Godzilla films have they made after this. I mean, they've made what seems like, 50 plus Godzilla movies? I mean, that might be over-exaggerating, who knows, but they made a lot. Let's just say that. But yeah, I mean, it's just a very solid movie. It's a classic, and this is a must-watch for anyone who claims to love film. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. If you claim to love film, this is a must-watch for sure. I think a lot of people do pass up on the Godzilla films, though, because I think a lot of people do have, like, a misconception when it comes to Godzilla. Like, some people might have these complaints like, oh, well, how many times is Godzilla going to go to Tokyo and terrorize everyone? All Godzilla films are the same. None of this is true. That is something that I do have to say. None of this is true. I think you do get some different variety with each Godzilla film. Not every film is Godzilla going to Tokyo and terrorizing everyone. Not every film is Godzilla the villain, and, you know, the human characters have to take down Godzilla, which, you know, those movies, when they do go with that concept and that idea, it does work, but it's not with every movie. There are some movies where Godzilla, you know, wants to terrorize everyone, and, you know, he's someone that the human characters have to take down, and there's even movies where Godzilla is actually the good guy. He is someone who actually wants to protect people from other monsters and stuff. And I think that's what really makes Godzilla work, in my opinion, and that's one of the reasons why I do love this monster character. Because I think that when it comes to Godzilla, there is really a lot that you can do with him. Like, especially with the writing, there's a lot that you can do with Godzilla. Like, not just with Godzilla and the monsters within this universe, but even with the human characters as well. It depends on the execution of it, of course, because there's some Godzilla films where the human characters have screen time, and I just feel like it's filler. Particularly in the MonsterVerse films, that's one of the things that I do have to complain about with the MonsterVerse films. I feel like that they could really cut out a lot of the human character scenes. Some of them, not all of them, of course. But with the original Gojira, I actually, again, was kind of invested in the human characters and the emotion that they put into in the movie. I thought that they did well. So, there you have it. I mean, I think this movie has a lot of good things going for it. And again, it's a classic and it's a groundbreaker. This movie definitely meant a lot to film. And again, it's a must-watch. It's a must-watch for sure. And another reason why I do love Godzilla is, well, I believe I've stated this before, but it's the design choices with Godzilla. Like, you kind of get something different with each film, you know, within the design choices of Godzilla. So not only is this a monster character that you can do a lot with story-wise within the writing, but you can do a lot with Godzilla as far as design goes as well, which is really cool. So I think there's a lot more to Godzilla than what people realize. Like, again, it's not just this big sea monster going to cities and terrorizing people, which, you know, is kind of the classic thing that Godzilla is known for, like the main thing, you could say, but there is more to it than that, you could say. You just have to watch these movies for yourselves. I do prefer the Japanese films when it comes to Godzilla, but I don't mind the American ones. I think the American ones are pretty solid as well. I even like the one from 1998, to be honest. It's not my favorite, but I do like it, though. So again, Gojira, the original Godzilla movie, I really like this. I think it's a great film, and if I were to rate it, give it a score, I'd give it a 9 out of 10. I could give it a 10 because of how much it meant to film, but again, this is all just a preference thing. And that's all that this is. So, again, the original Godzilla movie, Gojira, it's a must-watch for sure. So, I think it's great. It's a classic. Let me know what you think. Have you seen this movie? And if so, what do you think? So, with that said, thanks for watching. Have a good one.